All right, joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is our friend Newsmax contributor, John Fund. Hello, John.
Pleasure, Steve. Thanks.
Thank you. Usually I say hello and you're sitting right here and we shake hands and we converse, but this is the next best, I guess. All right, I want to talk to you because we just did a whole story of a 2009 incident where a young 16-year-old white boy was gunned down by a black man who said it was self-defense, and that trial didn't get much notoriety, and that man was found not guilty by a jury, and the family was outraged. It was, almost the reverse had George Zimmerman been actually white. But I want to talk about what the president said, and you wrote about this at National Review. The president last Friday, when he came to the briefing room and he gave his experiences on race, etc., the lecture, the excuses for violence in the black community. He also talked about stand your ground laws. And you revealed, and of course it got a lot of play on this show and on other conservative sites and whatnot, but the media is not going to tell you. He himself, Barack Obama, State Senator Obama, helped strengthen stand your ground laws in Illinois, correct?
9 years ago, when he was still in the state Senate, voting on everything from license renewal fees to bureaucratic reorganizations, a bill came up saying, we have a stand your ground law in Illinois, and it's worked pretty well, but we need to make it better. We need to strengthen it because right now what often happens is people will file civil complaints, apart from any criminal complaints that are lodged against them if they're shot or injured in someone's home or near someone's home. So we need to protect people who have successfully used stand your ground defenses from civil complaints from being sued for money. And the vote was 56-0. It's the Democratic Senate, and one of the 56 votes, this time he wasn't present voting. He wasn't dodging the issue by voting present. He voted for it. That was Barack Obama. Yeah,
and of course, I believe he co-sponsored it, and you also you were alluding to the Born Alive Protection Act that he voted present on all those times in the same Illinois State Senate. So of course, this isn't going to get a lot of play, but the hypocrisy is just amazing. And what did you think as you saw the president start this, and as he progressed, and then as he went on to talk about the acknowledgement in the black community of high crime and violence within the community, but then attributed it, at least in great part, to what he called a violent history. I mean, I've asked this question before. Was he talking about Jim Crow? Was he talking about slavery that he attributes to the violence in the black community today?
Who can guess?
I like that answer.
All we know is the president has a constant looping script, and it goes on over and over again, and there's certain themes that he keeps returning to, and one of them is his implied statement that the criminal justice system isn't fair. We need to be skeptical about it, and we especially need to be skeptical whenever race is involved. And I think the president ignored several things. One is, in Florida, stand your ground is actually invoked far more frequently by African Americans than their presence in the population. Over 1/3 of the stand your ground defenses in Florida in the last decade were by African Americans, even though they're only 15% of the population there. In addition, it turns out that African Americans who use the stand your ground defense have a better rate of being declared innocent than Caucasians do. So the criminal justice system is operating in a relatively colorblind way. African Americans use it more frequently, and they're more frequently successful using it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking to John Fund, Newsmax contributor here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let's turn our attention to Obamacare. He was on the road. He spoke for, the president did over an hour and 10 minutes, or about an hour, 6 minutes today. Everything came up, including Obamacare. He almost dared the Republicans to defund it and close down the government over it. But I think something that we've been talking about more and more on this show is the mining of data on all of us that will be that will be given to various agencies throughout the government. Our information is almost certain, or very likely to be to end up in the hands that we don't want it to end up in.
Absolutely, and what the president has once again shown is he's just completely out of touch with the American people, and want jobs. And all the president does is it's like trying to start a flooded engine in your car. You don't think about putting new fuel in it. You don't think about taking it to a new mechanic. You just keep flooding the engine with basically hot air and old gas.
Yeah, and you're right. He is out of touch, and that's why I think it's a winning issue for the Republicans. Do you think, as a couple of Republican senators have said, that it's worth fighting for, and they should defund it or parts of it, and let the chips fall where they may? Because I've been told on air by several Republican congressmen that Boehner and the leadership in the House really doesn't have the stomach for that.
Well, we just saw a poll that came out today, and it shows further complete collapse in Obamacare support. Ron Brownstein wrote about this in the National Journal. It's lost a lot of momentum just since the first of the year. Support among moderate and conservative Democrats, I'm sure you saw this poll from the Washington Post, Steve.
Yes, I did.
Went from 72% among moderate to conservative Democrats, who are over half of all Democrats, down to 48%. In my view, if not now, when?
Right.
In other words, if you really mean it and you want to use it as for more than a fundraising letter, if not now, when? I think if the Republicans basically say to the American people, we are going to fund all of government, with one exception, Obamacare, which is going to destroy your health care, maybe take away your right to see the doctor you want, contrary to what the president promised. If they just say, this is about Obamacare and nothing else, all Obama has to do is sign the law. He gets all of the money he wants for all of his programs except for Obamacare. I think you can win that debate.
I do, too. And, John, good way to end it. I'm up against a hard break. I thank you, sir. Very interesting conversation as always.